then got people who are relatively moderate and thoughtful people like Nadeem Sahawi on one side, Danny Kruger on the other. These are people that actually, especially Danny, who's actually looking at deep thinking about policy, must be sitting there thinking, crikey, this is really significant noise. It's more than just noises off. But I just want to actually write a manifesto and that can shake up the establishment, but make the institutions work. And how is he going to get that done when he's got all this stuff around him? What has he signed up to? And there'll be other people like that who have joined the party again to shake stuff up. But it is a one-man band. It is everyone's a disciple around Nigel, and they must start thinking, this isn't what I signed up for.
Nigel Farage is on the front page of the Sunday Times today as the paper reveals that he has not declared benefits in kind, including staff, security and housing, given by crypto gambler George Cottrell. Gabriel Pogrund is the editor of Insight, the Sunday Times investigation team, which has revealed the extent to which Cottrell supported Farage.
If not quite everything, then just an extraordinary array of different facets of Farage's life and operation, from security to drivers to staff in his back office to support for his social media output, including a lot of the output that helped generate the hundreds of thousands of followers that Farage obtained before the election, which helped broaden his appeal beyond his base.
Let's reflect on this investigation from the Sunday Times. And as Rosie was chatting about with Gabriel Pogrund from the Insight team about half an hour ago, there is a question here as to what impact this has on Farage and on Reform UK. And I think there are sort of different aspects to this. So, Emma, shall we start with effect on Farage and his electability, his attractiveness to voters? And I want to distinguish that from how he may be viewed within his own party. We'll get to that in a second. Let's start with voters.
So there is a hardcore of voters who I wouldn't say are Reform voters, they're Farage voters. They just love him, they want him in number 10, and whatever is found out about him one way or the other, they will stick with him. But that is not the whole of the 25-ish points that Farage's party is on at the moment. And it will not be enough that will get them over the line. So every time Farage is damaged like this, the Reform considerers, the people who are thinking, I might vote Reform, are just pushed further and further away. Yeah. And that is a real problem for them because in terms of the party, I'm afraid they're very much a one-man band.
Yeah, and this builds, actually, on what we were discussing last weekend. Luke Trill from More in Common had written in the Sunday Times, and we discussed it on this programme with his colleague Louis, this idea of two different blocks, actually, of voters, the left bloc and the right bloc. And so Reform, obviously, in the right bloc with the Conservatives and with Restore Britain, and the need that there is to attract voters to your bloc to become the dominant force within that bloc. And Luke's made the point before that the kind of the loss of momentum for Reform UK over these last few months, not winning in parliamentary by-elections is an example of that. Farage going a little quiet in the aftermath of the revelation of the £5 million donation from the crypto billionaire Mr Harburn. These sorts of things take the momentum out of a movement to try to dominate the right bloc of politics. And so, Paul, would you agree with Emma on that actually, when it comes to the core Reform voter, unshakable. It's Team Farage all the way. But actually, when it comes to the attractiveness to other voters who may sort of dabble with Nigel Farage and Reform UK, that's where he might have problems.
Absolutely. I totally agree with exactly what Emma said. You have people who are disciples of Nigel Farage. It feels like almost like a religious zealotry, which you get on both the right and with Zach Polanski and the Green on the left. This sense of populism. These are people that just have seen someone that they think can smash up the system, and they will follow that to the nth degree. There will be people that will also think that this is sort of deep state intervention, this report, and the attack on the 5 million. It'll be the uni party, as they describe it, the Conservative and Labour just ganging up to have a go at him because they're fearful of his approach. In reality, though, it just does not pass the sniff test. There will be millions of people up and down the country who won't read the finer detail of Gabriel's report. They won't remember Christopher Harbun's name about the 5 million. but they will know that there's a lot of money circling Nigel Farage in a hugely, deeply inappropriate manner. There's nothing wrong with people attracting money, with people attracting successful people around them. But if they're just getting gifted 5 million quid, which, let's face it, does not happen to everybody, gets gifted a lot of accommodation, security, all that support from someone who's had jail time in America, then that is something really significant when you're looking at who's going to run this country.
Yeah, and so let's keep it with you, Paul, because I think there's another element to this, which is what it does internally within Reform UK itself. Because if this is Project Farage, Team Farage, etc., this is also a smallish party when you look at the kind of elected representatives. They are known for their fighting amongst themselves, and, disagreement is fine, whatever, but there have been fallouts in the past. Is there a different story to be written here for what things like this do for the confidence of Farage's own colleagues?
Absolutely. I mean, look, I think about my former colleagues that have gone to Reform, and you've got some there that have gone for careers and whatever different reasons, and you've then got people who are relatively moderate and thoughtful people like Nadeem Sahawi on one side, Danny Kruger on the other. These are people that actually, especially Danny, who's actually looking at deep thinking about policy, must be sitting there thinking, crikey, this is really significant noise. It's more than just noises off, but I just want to actually write a manifesto and that can shake up the establishment, but make the institutions work. And how is he going to get that done when he's got all this stuff around him? What has he signed up to? And there'll be other people like that who have joined the party again to shake stuff up, but it is a one-man band. It is everyone's a disciple around Nigel, and they must start thinking, this isn't what I signed up for.
And the other question we've been looking at, Emma, I wonder what you think about this, is if Nigel is that disciple, has he himself run to the end of the road to think, I actually don't want to bother dealing with this anymore? Some have been suggesting to us this morning that maybe that's the case, that Nigel Farage will say, I can't be bothered to put up with this.
Well, it wouldn't be the first time, would it? I mean, he stepped down the second we voted for Brexit, and when the hard work came in, he was off. So there's definitely form there. He's not a particularly young man. I mean, I'm not a particularly young woman, so I say this with love. But, there is a world in which Nigel Farage enjoys the money he's got and, goes off and lives probably in an island somewhere that's not Britain, because that's, what very rich people like his donor tend to do. And there's a world in which he has to do the hard yards of trying to turn around Reform's currently dipping polls. They're still in the lead, but they are steadily going down. And I think you used the word momentum earlier, and it does seem that they have very much kind of lost that momentum for the moment, which is quite extraordinary. I mean, they did very, very well in the local elections. There is a path for them. But at the moment, the problem is that path goes off in very, very different directions, and they don't know which one to take. Yeah.
In the next couple of weeks, they may be contending with a burn and bounce as well, is the other part of this. Let me just tell you this, that Reform UK say Farage did not need to declare Cottrell support, as it preceded his announcement that he would stand for Parliament, and so he was not a politician at the time. Instead, it said he was a media personality and commentator, so the funding did not support political activity. A source adds that Farage almost always stayed in his own home and did not routinely use the London property owned by Posh George Cottrell. I keep saying that wrong. Cottrell.
I'm not being funny, but which of us is thinking, I just get £5 million for nothing, or I just get to use a big posh home? That's just that whole man of the people shtick that Farage is really good at.
But it's a whole world that is difficult to comprehend. And Paul, as a former MP, perhaps you can lift a bit of a lid on this. Not that I'm saying there's anything undue about the donations or whatever that you would have got, but politicians depend on support, don't they?
Well, absolutely.
Such as this.
You have to go out. You're delivering millions of leaflets. You've got to do a lot of stuff. You need cash to do that. We don't have state funding of politics, and there will be people that campaign for that, but that's basically taxpayers funding different parties, so that in itself is problematic. So you do need cash. You do have to go out and with a begging bowl and these kind of things. You have to make sure that you're above and beyond, that you're showing that there's no quid pro quo for it beyond actually having a government that person or that institution supports. But I think what you've got with Farage here is the Trump defence. It's just absolutely blitz it out and say, no, nothing to see here, nothing to see here. I wasn't in politics. I'm sorry. If you are sitting there leading a political party and you're working around everything, then there is a political element to it. So you should just be, register it, have it up for scrutiny, and then it's there for people to see and make their own mind up. But you can't just do this Trump thing and blitz it out. By the way, whenever he says about the 5 million, he says about it's a gift. My theory on that is that he's talking about a gift as in for the taxpayers, because then if Christopher Harbin lives for 7 years, then obviously he doesn't have to pay tax on it. So I suspect that's why he's talking about whether it's a gift or not. It's more accounting term than a present.
Interesting. Loads of your messages on this morning.
Yeah, Gary says, I don't care if a politician is bankrolled by some rich friends. What I want from them is that they're honest about their policies when they stand for election, and if they get elected into a power, they implement those policies. All too often our leaders get elected since saying they'll do ABC, then they do XYZ when they're in office. They are the really dishonest ones.
Peter says, it shows me that Nigel Farage simply cannot be trusted to act in an honest and transparent way with any of his dealings. The problem is that his most rabid supporters, says Peter, will not care about this, potentially leading up to the enormous danger to this country of him becoming PM. Were he to be found culpable of wrongdoing and forced to resign, Reform UK would cease to exist, as none of his failed Tory cronies would have any support. Yeah,
John says, I feel I need to remind you that the Labour Party is largely funded and influenced by the unions. Talk about funding and implied influence on other parties and leaders. Their specific donors need to be measured against this context.
I suppose that bit...
It's declared, it's open, it's one of the most transparent funding relationships in politics.
Yeah, and that is at the core of it, Emma. Absolutely fair point is the transparency here. And just finally for now, there are heaps of these. Lisa says, excellent article by Gabriel Pogrund and team. Do we really want Trump-like corruption on an epic scale in the UK? Unfortunately, says Lisa, Reform voters don't understand or care.
Well, Reform have been asked about this morning. Robert Jenrick was asked on Sky News by our Times Radio colleague, Trevor, if Nigel Farage is becoming more then of a liability than an asset to Reform.
Don't be silly, Trevor. Nigel is...
What do you mean, don't be silly?
Well, because it's a silly...
You've lost half a dozen points.
It's a daft question.
You've lost half a dozen points. You can barely hear a word out of your leader. He's keeping a low profile.
Nigel Farage is keeping a low profile.
Nigel Farage is a low profile.
Nigel Farage is out and about across the country. In fact, he was in America the last couple of days meeting the US Vice President. He's travelling. He's done more public...
To remind you, he's a British MP. He can do as much as he likes in America.
He's also somebody who is the leading character who's likely to be the next Prime Minister of this country. Is quite right that he travels around the world and meets other statesmen.
Don't be silly, Trevor.